Welcome to the Overlooked Motel, a place where underseen and unappreciated films are given their moment in the spotlight. I'm pleased to be championing John V. Knowles Chastity Bites on this installment of the Overlooked Motel. It's truly a film ahead of its time, but I think audiences may finally be ready for it. The picture's narrative is progressive and feminist, taking care to subvert both gender roles and horror tropes. Accordingly, this horror comedy is a true delight to watch. The picture follows aspiring investigative journalist Leah, who grows suspicious when her high school rolls out a new organization dubbed the Virginity Action Group. Additionally, Leah believes the club's leader, Liz Batho, has ulterior motives for organizing the group. The junior reporter's instincts ultimately prove to be correct. In fact, it turns out that Liz has helped develop an anti-aging routine that requires a steady supply of virgin blood. With that knowledge, Leah sets out to save herself and her best friend Catherine before they both wind up as sacrificial offerings. As you may have gathered from the plot crunch, Chastity Bites is vaguely reminiscent of the thematically similar Cherry Falls and has a feminist energy that calls to mind contemporary cult classic Jennifer's Body. Similarities aside, Chastity Bites charts its own course and stands as an impressive piece of feminist cinema. The flick is full of witty dialogue and isn't afraid to take shots at the far right or the patriarchy.
I don't need a club to teach me how to respect myself.
Accordingly, I think Chastity Bites was years ahead of its time. It's commonplace to see progressive feminist ideals in a film now, but the picture was released nearly 10 years ago, making it pretty groundbreaking in its message. Also effective is the film's desire to subvert genre tropes. And it's not just the virgin always lives cliché that's subverted here. The flick also avoids pandering to the hetero male gaze by featuring no female nudity, and even reveals Leah's best friend to be a lesbian without tying her entire storyline to her sexual orientation or making her the first to die. Aside from some of the fashions being a bit dated, Chastity Bites almost feels like it could be a product of 2022 rather than 2013. In addition to being ahead of its time, the film also benefits from a great cast of characters. Alison Scagliotti is smartly cast as Leah. She plays the lead character as down-to-earth, pragmatic, and eager to make a difference. Based on her turn as Leah, it's no surprise that Scagliotti has had a prolific career in the nearly 10 years since the film was released. Also enjoyable is Eddie Rioseco as Leah's love interest Paul. Part of Paul's appeal relates to a solid script from screenwriter Lottie Ferris Knowles, whose partner John was at the helm. Ferris Knowles writes Paul as a feminist ally that doesn't have to tell you he's an ally because his actions speak for themselves. Though he's well scripted, Rioseco brings the character to life with an aw shucks sensibility and the clear understanding that Leah's the star of the show and doesn't need anyone to rescue her. Accordingly, Paul lets Leah take center stage but is always waiting in the wings to lend a hand should she need his assistance. Ultimately, Chastity Bites is a thought-provoking horror comedy with a female-positive message, solid dialogue, and noteworthy performances across the board. And did I mention that the late Stuart Gordon makes a cameo as Leah's journalism instructor? So, if you're curious to check the flick out, it's streaming on Tubi and Prime as of the publication of this post. And if you're a fan of underseen cinema and keen to chat more, you can always find me on Twitter @FunWithHorror. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time on the Overlooked Motel.